Hey everybody, and welcome back to Investment Honey, where we talk about various crypto projects. A couple of reminders before we get started, as always, that I am not your financial advisor and we never provide any investment advice, on the channel. So with that being said, if you're new to the channel, new to the series, please, as always, I would encourage you to go back and look at day one, that first video, to kind of see what we're going to be talking about and how this is going to go ahead and flow, just to go ahead and get some additional context, before you look at any of the other videos. If you are somebody that's been following along, as always, I appreciate you for continuing to follow along in this series. I hope you're certainly getting something out of it. So, with that said, before I move into the meat of this, I want to let you know, and I typically don't mention this, but I'm going to mention it today, that what we're going to do, we're going to go back through the filters, as you can see here on the main screen. We're going to talk about some stuff that we talked about yesterday, some stuff that's been recently triggered. And then we're going to take a look at some of those charts, and then we'll look at the filters and look at some new tokens. Okay, so with that being said, here we can see, like I said, my alerts recently triggered. Always make sure that you have logged in, because it will sync your alerts that you set, across browsers, across devices, as long as you got that, as long as you're logged in. So I find that to be a nice, a nice setting, the Dexscreener or option the Dexscreener has available for you. With that being said, we can see this particular one, so Solana, this was one that we hadn't talked about, but I've just been watching on my own. So we're not going to go through that, but I've got some other tabs open here, so we're going to take a look at them. We've got Persona here, talked about this one yesterday. Okay, so we go back to this. Let's see here. Where are you? Okay, remember, I also, set these notes in here just so that we can make sure that we know at what market cap, do we actually find the token. And because obviously once we set the alert, and we found this out in earlier videos, that we don't get a reminder in terms of what market cap we actually set that alert at. We just know, what we set it at as far as what it goes over and what it goes under, right? So we saw this one at 107. So if we go back here, this is obviously at 128. So we can go back, and this, obviously triggered, because whenever it's highlighting that it's disabled, it means that it did trigger. Okay, so it says it was created a day ago, last triggered about 4 hours ago. All right. Now, since it's sitting at 128 and the chart does look pretty decent, and when we're reviewing this, I'm not going to go back into the Telegram. I think that's going to eat into too much of the video stuff and, takes away from what we really want to get into. But again, we are going to touch base on stuff that we talked about before, just because it's relevant, in the context of the series. So again, we're sitting at 128. Some question here is, do we want to set another alert? Now, me personally, I'm thinking, yeah. Okay, now I could have done this earlier, but I wanted to do this for the sake of, you being able to see what I'm doing in the video. So since we're sitting at 125, I am going to set this at 150, just because I'm not completely sold on this chart yet. And I personally think that it's probably going to go down before it goes up. And if it does go up, I think there's going to be some retracement, because there are people that are sitting on it. And as we know in crypto, people don't like to just sit on tokens, because people are just kind of antsy that way when it comes to digital currency. So we're going to set it for 150. At least that's been my experience in terms of my sentiment regarding how people operate when it comes to digital currency. So I'm going to click save here. So it's going to reactivate that trigger, okay, or that alert, sorry. So we're going to close this one out. And Eve here, this is one that we talked about yesterday as well, and we can see what the chart looks like. Let's find this one in... Okay, let's find it here. And one thing I wish they would do, I wish Dexscreener would give us a way to alphabetize this, so it makes it easier to find our alerts. So I like the fact that we get a couple of options in terms of, recently created, recently triggered, but I wish there was a way to sort this beyond, just those two options. Okay, so I'm looking for Eve. Okay, so there it is. So we set this, alert me when the market cap goes under 350,000. Okay, so this was obviously higher, and we can see it, the market cap note here, this was sitting at 408 yesterday. So when we go back here, we can see this is retraced like all the way down to 150. Cannot stress this enough. This is the reason why we set these alerts. because at the time that we set the alert, the chart may look good, right? And I think the chart did look good at the time. I'm not going to go back and try to find where we saw it in the video, what the chart looked like at that time, but the chart did look pretty decent, and so I wasn't, really happy about where it was in terms of if I wanted to take a position in that particular unit or in this token. And so I was looking for some retracement. So it triggered, and then obviously it continued to retrace. Now, obviously there were still some buys, on the chart, but it still continued to retrace. So now we're looking at 151, and you see what's going on here, even in this section, that on the 1 hour we're minus 13, on the 6 hour we're minus 28, and on the 24 hour we're minus 55. So that is quite telling. Now, what I would do, if I wasn't doing the video right now, and I was curious about this, I'd probably want to go in, and I'm also thinking about time in terms of this video too. I would probably go back into the Telegram and see what's going on there to see if there's any chance for this to, go back up, to see if there's anything the team's going to be doing as far as trying to provide some catalyst, buy pressure, marketing wise, for it to go up. Now, also keep in mind in terms of like patterns, in crypto, at least my experience, on weekends and going into weekends. So your Fridays, Saturdays, Sunday, you tend to see a lot of tokens start to retrace and go down. There are exceptions, don't get me wrong, that there are tokens that do go up and do have some buy pressure on the weekends, but there are a boatload of them that actually see retracement over the weekends. So, and sometimes even into Monday. At least that's been my experience. So again, this was sitting at 408. Now it's sitting at 151. So this is one that, like I said, maybe worth taking a look at the channel and seeing, what's going on there as far as, whether this might actually go back up. I think I'll still keep this one on my radar just to see if it goes back up. But that also means that I'm going to set an alert. Okay. So for this one, we're going to go back into Dexscreener, and I'm going to reactivate this one, but I'm going to set this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to put this at 151K. I'm going to change the note there, and I'm going to, I want to see if this goes under 100K. Now that may seem a little crazy, but 408 to 151 seems a bit, crazy too, that it retraced so much. So especially considering where it was at. So we're going to do that. And then in order to set the one to go up, I actually have to do that here. I can't do it from the alerts that were, already here in this section, because, an alert to go over a certain market cap, we didn't set that yesterday. At least I don't think we did. Oh, yeah, we did. Never mind. Yeah, we did. Okay, my bad. So that's my oversight. So what we're going to do, we're going to remove this one. And that should make sense because I was only looking at what was recently triggered. So I couldn't have seen that we actually set one that went over. So it was probably sitting in there, but I'm not going through the list to look for it. So we're sitting at 151. Okay. And we're going to set this for, I don't know. Let's look at if it can make it over 210. Okay. So, and this may seem, a bit arbitrary, but again, as I've mentioned before, a lot of this stuff is fluid, so there are going to be ones where we set alerts where it's going to be closer to the market cap that we found the token, and there are going to be instances like this one where we're going to set them a little bit further out. Now, you've got to go ahead and kind of make those adjustments on your own, and I'm letting you see kind of my workflow, as I do this, in this series, that there's no cookie cutter method to this. It is what you see, it's experience, and it's your trial and error, okay? So sometimes we're right, sometimes we're not, but this is how we learn, and this is how we make those adjustments, so that we get better along the way. All right, so I'm gonna set that. We got it going over, we set our note, and this is at 210, okay? So we'll see what happens with this. So we're gonna close this out. And then obviously we've been talking about tips with AI for the last couple of days. This one obviously saw some retracement. I said yesterday that if it dipped below 50, I think that's what I said, that if it dipped below 50, that I was going to go ahead and delete the alert. Now, this one, it did go back up, but I'm still suspicious of this chart. So, and I could go back into the channel to see what's going on, but I'm not going to go ahead and do that. But either way, I'm just letting you know we're still watching this one. So right now, this kind of seems like it's still seeing some buys and still seeing some retracement, but for the most part, we're seeing it just kind of go sideways. So, and the other thing that you may also want to consider You know, we really haven't talked about it. You know, they have bubble maps, you know, but on this chart, I'm not seeing the bubble map option, but yeah, typically you'll see bubble maps, you know, in here. So I'd want to see, like, you know, what kind of wallets are holding what. That may also be another piece of information to look at. So just keep that in mind. But I don't know why I'm not seeing it on this particular chart, but typically you do see bubble maps, you know. So yeah, like right here, you're seeing bubble maps. Why it's not showing up, you know, on this one, I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh this real quick just to see if it's going to actually show me the bubble maps. It's still not showing me bubble maps. So that is really odd because typically on any chart that you look at in Dexscreener, it typically shows you the bubble maps. Okay, all right, well, we're going to leave it alone. So I'll close it out. So either way, we're going to leave that one alone. Fusk. Okay, so this was that finger Elon Musk token, and let's take a look here. Let's see if we can find let's see if we can find where that one is. There it is. Okay, so let me when the market cap goes over 145,000. So this one did trigger. So our note says that we found this one, or that we made the note at 118K. So at 118, and we're at 125. So this one really hasn't moved a bunch, still hasn't moved a bunch, okay? So this one, I'd say we're just gonna go ahead and leave the alert, or you can get rid of it. You know, it's really kind of up to you, especially if you're setting the same alerts that I'm setting, or if you're setting different alerts for yourself. I have no idea, but again, it's your choice. Or I could go ahead, because I think I have this one, okay, so there are two. So I have this one set for when it goes under 80K, and it's saying that the last trigger on this one was, you know, was 2 days ago. So obviously I've gone ahead and reactivated that. This one, it was disabled because obviously it went over 145. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and okay, so this one goes over. So let's see about setting this one for, I don't know, let's set it for 1. You know what? No. I'm going to keep this the same, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to reactivate it. I thought about moving it to maybe 150. I'm not going to move it to 150. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep it at 145, because either way, as we know, when we're looking at these alerts, you know, they're indicators for us. So 145, that's still a good indicator for me. And I'll probably just watch it if it touches 145 and see, you know, what kind of movement it's going to make from there. All right, so we've reactivated the alerts. So we're going to close that out. We're going to close this out. All right, and then we looked at this token. I think we looked at this one yesterday. Okay, so let's look at what the alerts were on this one. CAS. Okay, let's see where we at. All right, so we want it to be made aware when this one went over 125. All right, so our note here is telling us 93. So obviously we found this at 93K. It is sitting currently at 148. Now I'm not going through TTF bot, you know, just to go ahead and figure out what the all-time high on this was. But either way, we can see that if this is our line here, and our line is showing us the price of 0.01481, and this obviously touched right here at 0.02238. We can reasonably, gather that this did touch over 200K yesterday, which is pretty good. So if this is one that you were, interested in taking a look at, after I went ahead and uploaded the video to YouTube, and you thought, hey, I'm going to go ahead and check this one out, then obviously, depending on where the chart was at the time that you looked at it, because obviously, we would have been looking at this before this mini run right here. And like I said, I mean, typically when I do these videos, I do some quick editing and then I get them uploaded. So it didn't take long before I finished this and uploaded it to YouTube. So I mean, a position on this probably would have still been around that 93K mark. Okay, so either way, that's that on this one. So this is one we're going to continue to watch, just because I think, based on what I'm seeing here, this is my guess. Okay, look, I don't ever know for sure. I mean, I don't know, but my guess is that I think it's probably reasonable, guess to make here that this could probably continue to move up. Now, again, I don't know. Don't take my word for it and be like, hey, oh, he went ahead and he said this is probably going to move up. Do not go ahead and do some nonsense like that. You still have to make your own assessment. But, you're looking at things like what's going on here. You've got the buy transactions, this area here. However, I am a little suspect about the fact that you got these super small buys, so is this something that's going on by the team? Or they've got some bot that's looking like, we're creating fake volume that may go ahead and lead to somebody thinking, hey, oh, there are buys coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and buy, on the chart. This does happen. We haven't talked about this in the series, but there are bots that can be used to create fake volume. So when you can see all these small buys, that's not normal for any chart. Any chart in crypto, you're ever watching this stuff long enough, this is not normal. People just don't go ahead and make $1 and $2 buys in volume like this. This is definitely bot activity. So you can see that, looking at this chart. So, here, and then you see what somebody went ahead and made this big buy, right? And then you see another one, right here. Was this the same wallet? Let's look. No, they were different wallets, so again, when I'm talking about you guys making your own evaluation assessment, on these tokens, you got to look at stuff beyond the chart. You got to look at what's going on here. You got to look, and here's the bubble maps that I was talking about. You can click on bubble maps. You can see, what's going on in terms of who's holding what in terms of supply. This kind of stuff is not good. So when you look at the wallet list, you can see this. I don't think this is one wallet that's holding this. This may be Radium that's holding this. I don't know. They've got a vault here, and then I think this is probably going to start your regular wallets. Okay. So here, and you can see cluster percentage, 49.661%. That's not good. So yeah, it's showing, this wallet one is holding 2%, but it's got a cluster percentage of 49%, so that I would see as like a red flag, because my guess, if they're talking about cluster percentage, I'm guessing that that's going to be, additional wallets that are connected, to this information here. So, but either way, and if I've got that wrong, that somebody that knows more about mobile maps can always go ahead and leave a comment. But that's just that's what I'm thinking, is what's going on here. So, because I don't claim to be an expert in terms of bubble maps, but again, in terms of bubble maps, what I do like about it is that it gives you a visual representation of what's going on with wallets and who's holding what in terms of supply and where they're moving, or where they're moving other tokens to in terms of like transferring, things as well. So, like I said, all this is just additional information. My whole point to showing you bubble maps is you can't just go on the chart alone. You have to look at what's going on in the community. You got to look at what's going on in the buy transactions. Bubble maps is not a bad thing to go ahead and take a look at because it's another data point for you to look at to get some good context into what's going on concerning a token. As you decide, on how you want to proceed. So moving forward, we're going to move out of this one. Okay, so paper here, this is one we looked at yesterday as well. We can see that we've got some retracement going on the chart, so we're sitting at 135. Now, if we go back, and we don't always have to go back here, to look at, this in terms of what's been recently triggered, because again, we can always see what's going on here in terms of the alerts that we set. So we saw this one at 108K, okay, and this one was disabled because obviously the market cap went over 125. So, but we're 135 right now. This is showing 135. The tab here is showing 134. With this retracement, my question immediately would be, is this going to continue to retrace, or is there going to be some more buy pressure? What I didn't like about this chart yesterday is that I don't really like buying into or taking a position into charts that look like they've got a stair-step kind of pattern. While it's good to see that the chart's continuing to go up, you have to understand there was always people that got in at earlier entry points, so sometimes it's a matter of they're just waiting to see how much further that chart's going to rise before they decide to go ahead and sell. And by this time, when the chart's kind of up here and they maybe took an entry down here, they're already up, pretty big, so for me personally, when I'm watching this, I want to see more retracement. I'm never a fan of seeing a bunch of red candles on a chart, but if I'm interested in taking a position, I want to see that there's going to be enough retracement where it makes sense for me to decide to take a position. That's just my own, that's how I operate. Now you may be somebody that's different. If you decide to maybe take an entry someplace up here with the expectation it's going to retrace, well, then that just means that you DCA. because you understand that, hey, this is probably not going to be the best entry, but you just want to get some kind of buy, into the chart. And then as it retraces, then maybe you decide that you want to make larger buys because you're getting lower entries, which means you're getting more tokens for whatever you decide to go ahead and put in terms of your own investment. So that's also something to think about. But like I said, when I saw this yesterday, I kept it on my radar because I liked the fact that I was still seeing buy pressure, but there was no way on earth I was going to go ahead and take a position based on the pattern of the chart. So, okay, and if that was a lot to kind of digest, especially if you're somebody that's newer to this, again, what you can do is just go back through, listen to this several times, so you can kind of, wrap your head around what I'm saying. Okay, so let's see here. Like I said, let's take a look at this alert again. I think I said, 108? Okay, so it was 108. We're sitting at 134. And you can see this went ahead. This did adjust because it was a 135 before, right? And the tab, this is another example where I tell you the tab is more accurate. Let's say that so I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to move this to 150 actually. Okay. So I'm going to save that, and going under 80K, yep, I'm still leaving that alert just as it is. Okay, so we're going to leave that alone, and now we're looking at Claude 2. So when we saw Claude 2 yesterday, I think one of the comments, and I could be wrong because I'm not going back to the other video to review it, as I'm doing the recording, but one of the things that concerned me about Claude 2 yesterday was that I didn't see anything that was going to really push this token. When we went into the channel, and I think if I recall this correctly, we went into the channel, there were still buys coming in, and I said that's great and all, but I don't see anything that's going to go ahead and lead to the sustainability, of this token. So, and we can see we've got minus on the 5 minute, we got minus on the 1 hour, we got minus on the 24 hour, and we don't have a big plus sign, on the 6 hour, even though there's a plus. So if we look at okay, I can't see that there. So I'm going to go and see where Claude is up here. Okay, Claude 2. Okay, so we saw this at 286K, okay, yesterday. And where's it at now? So it's at 221. So out of 286, we're sitting at 221. And this was triggered because it went under 230, and it's still sitting under 230. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this, and I'm actually going to set this at 200. And I personally think this is going to continue to retrace. That's what I think. Could be right, could be wrong. Okay, so we can see that this is now active again, and if it's active, I probably shouldn't have closed that, but either way. So now because before, when I came back over to this screen, we didn't see any alerts, which is why I had to go back over to this tab. Now we can see that this is now reactivated on this. Okay. So, all right, so I'm going to close that out. Hood wrap, this is one that looked promising initially, and now it's just seeing, continued retracement. I think we even talked about this yesterday, that it was still looking decent, yesterday, but I don't remember. But either way, we're continuing to see, further retracement. So we saw this initially at 109, okay, and it went over 130. I think it may have even gone beyond that. So this is one where I'm not really interested in watching this one any further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the alerts on this one. Delete, okay. And we're going to go ahead and get rid of this one. And if you're somebody that wants to continue to watch, Hood Rat and see how, where this one goes, because it's sitting at 55K, I'm just not seeing that this is going to go ahead and have any chance in the world without some big catalyst to return to previous all-time highs. Okay, so InfiniCat was another one that we looked at yesterday. Let's see what we had here. We saw this at 56K. We're sitting at 42 now, so there was retracement. And what triggered our under alert actually triggered, so when it went under 40K, it did move up a little bit, but I think this one, let's take a look at the chart again. I mean, this is kind of risky here. Obviously somebody went and bought in, on the red candle. So, and then we saw some increase, in terms of, buy candles. But right now, when it's sitting like this, to me, unless there's something going on in the Telegram and the channel, where somebody thinks that, hey, this has got a chance to go ahead and go back up, I would guess that this is probably going to go down further. Because again, nothing going on here on the 5 minute, nothing going on here on the 1 hour, and retracement on the 6 and the 24 hours. So to me, it does make sense to keep the alert for under. So, and here, I think if this touches 30, I think it's done. So even at 40, I'm kind of still leaning in that direction, but definitely I think if it touches 30, it's over for this one. So, and we're going to keep this at 75 because I think that if it can hit 75, there's a chance for this to start to maybe make some moves. But even then, you know, even if it touches that indicator for me, I think I'd still be inclined to just simply watch, you know, for a little bit. Okay, so with that being said, that covers, you know, basically a review of some alerts that were set yesterday. And so at this point, you know, what I want to do is I want to take a look at what's going on today. Okay, so, and let's see here. We're going to go to filters. Okay, let's check out ETH today because we looked at Solana yesterday. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and go to Uniswap. There we go. All right, so we're leaving liquidity as it is. Market cap, we're going to start out with our normal 50,000, and we're just going to go to 200,000 today. I think yesterday we went a little bit farther out. That led to a longer video, but you know, sometimes that's fun. Typically, I like to keep these videos at least a half hour, you know, anywhere between a half hour to an hour in that time frame. So we don't want to really go beyond that, just because, you know, kind of lose people's attention spans after that. But all right, pair age, we're going to. What do we want to do here? I think we did like an 824 yesterday. So let's do some that have been alive a little bit longer. So we're going to go to 48,120. Again, these are still newer tokens. You know, 2 days is not anything that's been real long, you know, so we're going to go to 2 days. And 24-hour change, we're going to go to 10%. So let's take a look. Oh man, we only get one. Well, we want to see more tokens than that, right? So let's go a little bit further out. All right, so let's go to, I don't know, let's do 12. Ooh, goodness. Dexscreener, you can't just highlight it. If you highlight it, it'll remove the highlight, so that's why that happened. So we'll do 12 to 120. Okay, so that's definitely going to bring us some more tokens. Okay, so here we are. All right, so we're going to take the 24-hour. Okay, so we're just going to open these up. Let's see what we got going on here. We only got 8 tokens, so what did I open? I opened 5 of them, so we'll start with 5. Okay, so let's take a look at the charts real quick. Let's see what we got going on. All right, so it's just taking a minute to load. Fill out the load chart settings. I don't know what that is. Okay, so, okay, there we go. There we go. And what am I on? I'm on the 15 minutes. Okay, we'll leave on the 15 minutes. Okay, so I'm really not crazy about what I'm seeing right away in terms of the charts. I'm actually going to go to 1 minute, interestingly enough, just so we can see more of what the patterns are on these charts. Okay, and 1 minute. Okay, so right away, I can tell you this one right here, I mean, this looks pretty bottomed out, you know, so not looking at any real buy pressure here, especially when you take a quick look here on the 5 minute, nothing going on. 1 hour, you got 1%, nothing going on. On the 6 hour, we're in a negative there. And on the 24-hour, it's 144%, but that is completely all of this right here on the 24-hour. That's why you're sitting at that 144%. So we're not going to waste our time, you know, looking at the channel, you know, on a chart like this, just because there's not really anything going on there. This one looks like it's a scam. I mean, you're not seeing any sales. This has been alive, you know, for over a day, and this is your chart pattern. We've talked about this before. So this is going to be one you don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. So we're going to leave this one alone. This one right here, chart pattern again, is very suspect. You know, and this one's been alive, you know, for just over a day as well. Huge buys, you know, going on here and not big sells. That doesn't make any sense. So this is going to be one that's likely going to be a scam. You also don't see any, you know, we don't see any socials here, so that's going to be one we want to avoid. Here as well, we don't get any socials, and again, the chart pattern is very suspect, you know, to me. And the buy transactions, you know, are huge. Whenever you're seeing something like this, guys, always know when you're seeing just buy after buy, that's literally over $1,000. That's not normal behavior, you know, for a digital currency. For a chart, for token crypto, that's not normal. So for me personally, this one's a no-go. And the other thing, you know, look, when you look at this chart pattern, it doesn't look horrible, right? But we're on a 1 minute for a token that's been alive for over 16 hours. That doesn't make any sense to me either. So we're going to leave that one alone. And this one, The buy chart or the chart doesn't look terrible, but again, you go to these buy transactions. These transactions are huge. That's not normal. So all of those are suspect. Those are done. So we looked at 5. So we're going to go to the last 4 here and see what we got. And this one looks like it's new because I think SOAR we already looked at. And remember, Dexscreener, it always auto updates. So we didn't see this one before, but we're seeing it now. Okay, so we're looking, and when we're talking about tokens that have been alive for more than a day, we should be able to look at something more than a minute. But for here, I'm going to go out to the minute just because we want to see more of what's going on in terms of the chart pattern. Okay, this one actually looks like more of what we're looking for in terms of a chart pattern. This one has excessive taxes. This is a new flag that we haven't seen in the other videos. We've talked about if they're freezable. We've talked about if they're mintable. Those are red flags. So this obviously excessive taxes more than 80%. That obviously highlights scam. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. And then bio here, this one's on the 15 minutes. So this one actually looks like the chart pattern doesn't look terrible. But again, we're also going to look at some of these things here down here. The transactions kind of look a little bit more normal, but again, we're still looking at some rather large transactions. So this is one I'd be curious about taking a look at the Telegram to see what's going on there. Okay, so here the transactions automatically tell me this is probably a scam, so we're going to leave this one alone. Also, we don't get any socials, so I don't like that. Here again, no socials. The buy transactions huge, so this. And today, obviously, and this is what we're doing through Dexscreener. Some days we're going to find some stuff, that's good. Some days we're not. But, if it's me looking, at Dexscreener, I'm going to be looking at a number of different configurations in terms of my filters. For the videos, obviously, what do? We take a look, at a certain set of information or data points, in terms of what we want to put in, for the filters. And then we see what we get. Okay, so for today, we're looking at Ethereum, 12 hours to 120 hours. This is the market cap that we set. And we wanted to see stuff that was at least a 10% change over the last 24 hours. Now, what will I tell you? If we were to move over, okay, all right, so what we're going to do, I went to Dex's. We're just going to go over to Solana instead, okay? And we put in the same information. We're not going to touch anything else. We're going to get a completely new set of tokens to go ahead and take a look at. So for the sake of the video, yes, we're running into a lot of scams today. But like I said, you set different filters, you get different results. If we looked here at, let's say, 100,000, okay, and we'll still leave everything else the same. All right, this is what we get. If we change this, over to 24 to 48, obviously we're going to get a different set of information, different set of tokens we can look at. So that are probably not going to be a bunch of scams that we're looking at, right now with the initial, parameters that I set before. So, but either way, I just want to highlight that to you because if you're new and you're thinking, oh my gosh, we're just running into a bunch of scams, this doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to be interested in watching this. The whole point each day when we do this is that we go ahead and we take a look at setting a specific set of filters and we see what we get. And then we take a look at that and beyond that, understand that, each day is going to look different. But what you set on your own in terms of your own filters, it's going to produce whatever tokens it produces based on the filters that you put in there. So, but again, for video purposes, I'm not going to sit here and make a 3 or 4 hour video just going through all the different, configurations that we can put in because the whole point of this is to encourage you to not only see what I'm doing in terms of, putting in filters, but then taking that, going off on your own, utilizing your filters, and then seeing what you also discover too, right? So with that being said, we are going to take a look at Xeno AI. We've got some socials here, which is good to see. I like what I'm seeing in terms of the chart pattern, but like I said, some of these transactions, on this chart are kind of suspect to me. So I want to see what we can see in the Telegram. All right, so I'm not going to go ahead and do that. So here we go. We're opening up. Okay, we're going to close that out. Okay, so here we go. We do get a portal. Okay, so we're going to tap to verify. I'm going to go ahead and clear out this other stuff that was in here. Okay, so here we go. And we're going to join. So let's see. So we can see they've got some raids going. Okay. What I like about this in terms of their raids, is that they need a lot of likes, so a lot of likes. And if they're able to complete the raid, it means they're getting good participation from their community. Okay. So the other thing I want to check, let's see what's going on in terms of pinned messages. They've applied for an audit. Okay. They're announcing their next development is going to be updated soon within the next 12 to 24 hours. They'll continue to run the project as written in the roadmap. So they've got a roadmap as well in order to achieve the desired goals. Okay, so they went ahead and they updated their DEX tools. All right, Etherscan information has been submitted. Dexscreener was updated. Okay, they've announced it. So LP lock information. So there's some interesting things going on there in terms of the pin messages. I also want to see when was the last buy in this token. So this is saying 9:36. That would have been more than 10 minutes ago. To me personally, that's too long. You don't want buys to be spanning out more than 10 minutes. I mean, that's just my own personal, preference, but I personally think that's just too long. So because again, people don't like to just go ahead and sit on stagnant charts. If the charts are sitting, obviously what that means, and like I said before in the video, people get a little antsy, they're more inclined to sell. And that's typically what they do. Okay, so we're going to go back, to this. So I don't know, for this one, for me personally, I'm not crazy about this one. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this one alone. And here for bio, let's take a look at what's going on. They're sitting at 201. They do have they and so let's see what's going on in the channel. Okay, so they've got a portal here. We're going to get our link and join. They got 880 people in the group. Okay. So we can see they're trending. Okay, that's a positive, in spite of what I was seeing in terms of buy transactions. Last buy was at 9:49. That was just a minute ago. Okay, so yeah, so we've got some activity in terms of buys, recent activity in terms of buys. So looking at pinned messages, they just submitted requests, to CoinGecko. Okay, they've got some other pinned messages here introducing the buy energy bot. They give you some information here in terms of what that's going on with that. Okay, all right, so this is in regards to their X account. They say they bought half an ETH and burned it, so 3% of the supply is already burned. So they're doing some burns on their supply. Let's see here. They got somebody that went ahead and forwarded a message here, just I guess showing this to their community. Okay, and this is just basically saying that they're going to be launching. Okay. All right, so I mean, they've got some stuff going on, and in terms of exposure, right now all we can see that they're doing is trending. They've done some supply burns. They've made requests. I don't really consider requests to CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap like a big deal. I just don't. It doesn't seem to have the same impact as it had like a couple of years ago. But again, it's always nice because what does that mean? It means if they can actually get listed, on those platforms, it's more exposure, for the token, and it's helpful for anybody that's holding a bag in the token as well. So, all right, moving back over to our main screen over here. So this is one, since I've taken a look at the channel, there seems to be some activity. We'll set some alerts, for this one. So we're at 201. Okay. All right, so there's our note, and we're moving over to market cap because I don't ever mess with the price in USD or the price of the native token. So going over, where are we going to set it at? I want to see this one actually get to 240, okay? And we're going to create that alert, and then going under, we're actually going to set this one at 150, okay? So that's just kind of where I'm at with this one in terms of what I want to see. Typically with trending, everybody, all tokens need trending, right? They need some organic growth. They need trending, growth as well for exposure. But trending does tend to lead to bring more investors that, they may be looking for quick flips, so they get that 2x and they go and they sell. So I think there's going to be more volatility on this chart, especially because they are trending. So that's why I'm setting the alerts, with a higher digression from the actual posted market cap that we found it at. Okay, so I'm setting that at 150, and there we go. So with that being said, that's going to do it for me, I think, on this particular video. As always, I appreciate those of you guys that are following along. Like I said, we're day 6, so I'm going to keep this series going because I think it's a good series in terms of educating people on how to use Dexscreener, and it gives you an opportunity not to just go ahead and do this on your own, but to follow along with somebody that can also provide you with some insights in terms of how you not only view the charts, but view other aspects, of the token, in terms of doing your own evaluation and analysis too. So I hope, like I said, hope you're getting something out of this from day to day. And I'm enjoying, doing this and having you guys follow along with me. So, and feedback is always welcome, guys. We really haven't had anybody, really make any comments. I think I've had like maybe a couple of comments, over the course of the series so far. But if you got some comments or feedback that you want to make, you can always go ahead and do that. You can always look in the description, for the links, for Maestro and for the Telegram associated with Investment Honey, which is Crimson's Calls. You can also reach out to me directly, through the Telegram group, as well, since my @username is there for any kind of direct communication. So with that being said, thank you guys so much, for watching, and I'll let you guys continue on and enjoy the start of your weekend. Take care, guys.